Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and I just got back from the new film, Expendables 3. The Expendable films are dumb, stupid, fun action movies with all these references to previous action movies. So if you're an action movie fan, they're just a lot of dumb fun. You have cameos, you have people referencing their famous lines, you have cool action sequences. And the previous two Expendables films didn't really disappoint. They gave you all the action stars you wanted together at last, and you had them do scenes together and have action sequences together. And in the first film, I remember it was a big deal to have Bruce Willis, Sylvester Stallone, and Arnold Schwarzenegger together in one scene. Then in the second film, they do an epic shootout at the end of the film, and it was even cooler. But by the third film, the novelty is wearing off. It's not as amazing as it was the first two times, and they can't do anything with it theoretically, whereas the first Expendables film is directed by Sylvester Stallone and more of a throwback action film, and the second one was more of a modern action film. This is still a modern action film and relies more on CG than the first two certainly did, but it doesn't have as much fun as the first two did. It still satisfies on the big, stupid, dumb front, and it should. You can't have an Expendables film that wouldn't do that. What would be the point, really? It seems to not be as much fun, like we've been at the party maybe a little too long. The Expendables 3 start off with an epic rescue sequence where they rescue Wesley Snipes' character of Dr. Death from a train. That's probably my favorite action sequence in the entire film. And then they rescue him. They go on to another action sequence where they realize that the guy they're looking after, who is an arms dealer, played by Mel Gibson, was one of the guys who originally started the Expendables. And they have a hard time trying to kill him because Sylvester Stallone is shocked because he thought that guy was dead. Then he realizes he can't have the old team. He assembles a new team of Expendables of people we've never heard of. He sends the new team in to get Mel Gibson until the new team is kidnapped, Stallone gets away, and he recruits the old team again to rescue the new team. One of the things about this film that doesn't really work is the new team. Kellen Lutz is probably the most famous. I've never heard of anybody else. Ronda Rousey, I think that's how you say her name, as Luna. She was an MMA fighter. Everybody else doesn't seem to be as well known, and it kind of defeats the purpose, because I thought with the Expendables you're supposed to have like famous action stars and people that the audience would care about, and frankly it's like these are just kind of insert here type of people. Certainly there are some actual lesser known action stars, but there are no action stars that would really work for a newer team of the Expendables, but I guess they wanted to do this anyway, so they casted these younger guys, and you know, certainly they're alright, but it kind of misses the point. You're supposed to have these people who are named, so when you see them on the poster you're like, oh shit, that guy and that guy are together, I have to see this. I don't know what the point was in having them, and they weren't really that great. They were kind of more a plot point. This is not too different from the modern action film that Expendables 2 was. So you get to this point where you're like, okay, it's dumb, stupid fun, and I still had a good time, but I'm not having as good of a time because I'm just stuck with still a modern studio action film. And this one is PG-13. I didn't notice too much different in terms of violence. I kind of wish they'd gotten a different director. Patrick Hughes, who's a newer director, I kind of liked if they got more of throwback action directors to do this stuff, or someone who's having a bit more fun than he was. He seemed like he was having a little bit fun, but not as much as Stallone or Simon West were. It also kind of just felt like the film was as wary as the whole concept of this. I mean, Mel Gibson was a decent enough villain, and I actually thought he did a better job than I've seen him in a lot of films recently, but it's not as special because he was just the bad guy in the Machete sequel. With Jean-Claude Van Damme it was different, or with Eric Roberts there were people I hadn't seen in a big action film in a while, but I had just seen Mel Gibson. And I liked how he used Wesley Snipes. It kind of was confusing because they have this big action sequence at the beginning to emphasize, hey, Wesley Snipes is here, and then they bring in a new team and he's gone for a lot of the movie. So it's like, okay, so I guess if there is a fourth Expendables movie, he will be in the team of Expendables, like the regular team with Dolph Lundgren and Jason Statham and Randy Couture and Terry Crews. I have to wait for more of him. Kind of felt like the whole idea of Stallone Schwarzenegger and Willis that we had to wait for an awesome shootout till Expendables 2. And I guess that's kind of part of the thing, is that you have to wait and they do even crazier stuff as this franchise goes on. I kind of wanted to see more of Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes got a couple cool action sequences, but not enough, I think, really. It was actually cool seeing Harrison Ford. He didn't seem as like stoned out as he usually is. Expendables 3 feels like more of a worn down Hollywood franchise that they're making them make sequels to, but the studio doesn't care as much about. It's another 2 years, we got to get an Expendables movie out. And they still succeeded making a fun film. I'm not going to act like this was a disaster, because it wasn't. It wasn't a disaster of a movie. It just wasn't as inspired and as fun as the previous films. How many times can I hear Arnold say, "Get to the chopper"? Maybe I expect more from an Expendables film. And this was certainly the worst one of the three. I think maybe they had too many people. Terry Crews wasn't in a lot of it because he was injured at the beginning of the film. And Antonio Banderas, actually, I thought did a decent enough job. The first one was an event, and I knew tons of people who saw it. And then when the second one came out, people were like, "Oh, that's still going? I don't know, I guess so." And I feel like at this point, everyone's just like, maybe on cable. And now I hear they're even talking about doing a fourth one. After the second one, I was ready for 3. And at this point, I'm getting a little weary of it. And this film, the way it was directed, feels like the studio and the director and the writers don't really know how to keep it up, so I don't feel weary of it. And I hope if they continue this, I wouldn't mind someone like Robert Rodriguez taking an Expendables film, or somebody who's going to have fun with it and do maybe a different kind of action movie than we've already seen before. That's what I liked about the first 2 films. The first one was the throwback. The second one was more of just a modern action film. And if you're not continuing to evolve them, it just kind of become very stagnant. And there's still more action stars they could use. I still would love to see Chow Yun-fat, and I'm sure everyone can name an action star they would love to see. And I was surprised Harrison Ford would do a film like this, really. Think of that scene where they're in the church, where it's Stallone and Schwarzenegger and Willis, and how everyone wanted to see that movie, even though we all knew it was just that scene. And that's what they need to get back to. And there was really nothing like that in this film. Kind of a little bit with Wesley Snipes, a little bit with Harrison Ford, kind of with Mel Gibson, but none of these guys have been absent for that long to make it that special. They need to do something with these guys to make it an event. And that's what the Expendables should be. A big, dumb, stupid action movie event. And that's when these films are at their best. And this just kind of felt like just another action film. Not a bad action film. I actually thought it was pretty decent. It just like didn't feel as special as it used to. Maybe that's impossible to do. Maybe they just shot their wad on the first 2 and there's no way they can really get that feeling back. But I felt like they didn't try as much, and it didn't feel like they wanted it to be as special this time. They're just like, hey, it's like these people and they're new, these new guys, you'll like it, it'll be fun. The disappointing nature is what really kills this film and makes it less of an exceptional Expendables film, and it makes it the actual expendable Expendables film. So if you have seen the Expendables 3 and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. And if you'd like to see how my reviews have changed over the years, I have actually been reviewing movies long enough on YouTube that I have reviews of the previous 2 Expendables films. I will have annotations for that on the screen in front of you of the first Expendables film and the second Expendables film, and you can check those out if you would like to. I hope to see you next time, and thank you very much for watching.